Devil ain't winning what I tell you.
Then we go through this with honor, ain't it?
Yes.
Like,
That's why I'm being quiet. I ain't saying nothing.
I'm saying,
Okay, on the YouTube page, where am I? It's under Healing Hearts.
no, I'm gonna give you the link. Okay, so we live on YouTube. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna copy the link and then I'm going to tag y'all in it.
Okay.
Hi, YouTube world.
So on your YouTube, you have a YouTube page, right?
Yes, it's under Inspired Inc. Ministries.
I'm gonna
Let's
copy
see.
the photo too. While we're waiting. YouTube.
Inspire Inc. Ministry.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because I'm doing that one for my Oh, okay. Oh.
Trump at it again. Baby, you're gonna turn the TV off because Donald Trump doing stuff, and I don't know if I'm better listening. I'm just joking. You ain't gotta turn it off. I'm really paying attention. What'd you say, Rico?
And click the YouTube link.
Not right now. I don't want to do that right now.
Okay. Let me tag y'all.
Hey, Anna. Inspired Inc.
Oh, it shows on the thing on Facebook. Y'all see it? Okay. Okay, so we got 2 people watching right now, so we'll go, or is that y'all? Okay.
Probably.
It might be.
Okay. 2 people watching right now, so we'll go, or is that y'all? Just make sure if you're on the computer or whatever, just mute it.
Okay.
So that it won't cause interference. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. Let's see here.
Oh yeah, that's perfect.
You found it?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Y'all ready?
Yep.
All right. So good evening, everybody. Good evening, and welcome to Healing Hearts. And I am your host, Shonda T. Norman, along with our other host, Michelle Elroyd, and we have Anna Odom, and we have a very, very special guest tonight with us, and she's going to be sharing her story. But I'm gonna have while we're sitting here, I'm going to have Miss Michelle introduce her and bring her on tonight. I hope you guys are really excited about the show, because I am. If you have any questions, just to let you know that we can see your questions. So whatever questions that you may have, you can ask your questions in the chat and we will answer those for you, or we'll have our special guest answer those questions for you. So to go ahead and get started on tonight, because we did start a little late due to some technical issues, but we're going to go ahead and get it going. All right, Michelle, I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to you and let you introduce our special guest.
Well, this is Miss Ywanda. I met Ywanda through my mom in church, and she is a very, very special friend. We've over the last year, we've been getting to know each other a little bit better. We even went out to see a play. We talk. If I have issues, I'm like, text me, call me. I get in her inbox. She has mine. And she's very encouraging, especially for me as a mom and wife. And she's just very uplifting. And I don't want to tell her story. I'm going to let Ywanda tell it. But when I read a little bit, and the little bit I know, it left me in tears and just in a very prayerful mood this morning. So without further ado, many of you already know Ywanda. You just don't know all of Ywanda. So she's going to give you a little bit more. I don't even know why I'm getting emotional now, but she's going to give you a little bit more of her. So Ywanda, take it away.
Where do you want me to start? It's so.
Start, start at the
Um,
beginning because
oh my goodness! Start when I was
people may
5.
know. Yeah, start where you want to
Oh,
start. People may know a little bit about you, but
I think
I
people
didn't know
know
that part.
the
I didn't
different.
know that part of you.
Oh, you didn't know I was molested at 5.
No, I did not.
Yeah. My mother and my father sent us to stay with the aunt. Um, the summers that we would have, summertime when school was out, and he originally, my uncle, who um was just a uncle that wasn't blood related. He was just a uncle that was my aunt's husband. Um, he would originally start out, and at 5 years old, you would think, okay, you don't remember that much, but I remember so vividly. Um, I remember so vividly how he would just start out watching us when we were in the tub, my sister and I. My aunt put us in the tub together as we would take a bath, and he would vividly just walk past the bathroom and look at us in the tub, and would just wait a minute, excuse me, you guys. Just
Mhm.
on the phone. He would vividly just look at us and see what we were doing in the tub. It looked very innocent. My sister at first, who was older than me, she didn't really pay attention to it, but I was always a nosy child. I was very nosy, and I would just always observe. I started observing when I was very, very young. So it went from him looking at us in the tub to one day, um, one evening when we were asleep, we would. I'm sorry, you guys.
No, you're fine.
You're fine.
Go
This
ahead,
is
Justin.
life.
Go with mommy. Um, One evening we were well, one night we were sleeping, and I felt somebody under the cover with us, and he originally started out fondling us. Um, he started with my sister, I guess, who was older. I don't know my sister's story. Um, she's never really talked about her story. I just know that he went from her. He would mess with her first, and then he would mess with me. So um, I just vividly remember him doing whatever he wanted to do because no, when my aunt would sleep, she never even thought about him molesting us. And we always would talk to each other, me and my sister, and we would always say, we're not going to tell mommy and daddy because my father was crazy. And I always thought if I tell my parents, my father's going to go to jail. My uncle never threatened us. He never said, don't say anything. He never said, don't tell anybody. I just think he knew that we were young enough to wonder what was going on and not tell what was going on. He knew we was trying to figure it out. Um, Long story short about that, um, I remember one year when him and my father got into an argument, and I remember the argument was really, really bad. That I thought that someone had told them that my sister and I was being molested. Um, The next thing I knew, my uncle was dead. I don't know how he died. I don't know what happened. I never questioned it. I was just glad to know that he was gone. And that's how the molestation stopped. But from the molestation, like I said, I can't really tell my sister's story because that's her private story, and I don't want to step out of bounds. But it was
Right.
a reverse effect. Um, what happened from the molestation with my sister happened the opposite with me. I didn't want to go around anybody. I clung to my mother. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I just knew, okay, it's over with. But now I really don't trust anybody. I just want to be around my mother. So going from molestation, growing up, dealing with, okay, that's over with. Now I have a father who is abusive to my mother. Um, since I was so close to my mother, had gotten so close to my mom, I seen all of what she went through. I mean, her whole journey. My mother was an aspiring student trying to become a nurse, a RN. And through that, she would go to school. She worked 2 jobs. She was in school full time, coming home after school, trying to get a meal prepared for my dad and my sisters and I, and then she would go to school. Many of those times she would do that. In between of trying to get ready for school, she was getting beat. If it wasn't the right thing that he wanted, my father wanted, or something that she bought in for dinner, she would get beat. So my goal was, okay, since I'm seeing this, I'm just going to stay between my mom and my dad, because here are 2 people that I love, and I'm not understanding why they're not loving each other. But it wasn't that. It wasn't the love. It was just, I think, the way my father, I wouldn't say was raised, but it was just the way my father expressed himself. This is me thinking as a child. Now I know better. My goal was not just being close to my mom, but whenever this do happen between my mother and my father, I'm right there and I'm in between it, and I can almost stop it. I just need to know that she's okay, and that one day I'm praying that he's gonna stop beating on somebody who he's supposed to love. I never got angry with my father. I never got angry with my mom, but I always wonder, okay, if he say he loved her, why do he beat her? Why do he and then if she say she loved him, why do she put up with it? It was just a confusing story as a child with me and my sister. My sister, on the other hand, like I say, we are like night and day. My sister, I think she more so when the abuse with my mom was going on, she would literally block it out like nothing was happening. Where I would be really terrified listening at the door, she would be acting like nothing was happening. And I remember one day asking her, I was like, well, what are we going to do? And she said, it'll be over in a minute. That's how she blocked it out. She would just be like, it'll be over in a minute. They'll be over in a minute. And I was like, well, how? Then I started wondering about her. Well, how, if you love mommy, why you not trying to help mommy? You know? So I just really would just wonder, okay, Dave, for me, I think I lived with in our household day by day. It was never a next week or next month. I always lived day by day because my occurrences was, I wonder what's going to happen next tomorrow, or I wonder what's going to happen um, the next day. So I remember one Sunday, I was about 8 years old, and we were sitting in church because now my mother, we didn't do anything else. She had those 2 jobs. She was a full-time student at school, but if she wasn't in church, the church van came to get us. We could not. It was not no. It was no
That's
idle
awesome for us
time.
too.
We
Right.
going to church, Sunday school, choir rehearsal. I mean, we was in church. Period.
Okay.
That's all I know. Is choir rehearsal, usher, church, Girl Scouts. I mean, all of it. She kept us very active so that we wouldn't just be at home. So, but I remember this one particular Sunday, we was sitting in church, and we wasn't a member of this church. We was visiting, and this particular Sunday, um, it was almost as if um, the minister, the preacher was teaching and preaching, but it was almost as if I was looking past him and I was hearing his voice. And his voice was telling me, if you just don't worry about what's going to happen with your mom, if you don't worry about what's going to happen at home, I've already taken you out of what your uncle done to you. If you just listen to me, you're going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
Be fine. If you would just come out your seat and go up to the front and kneel and pray, you're gonna be fine. Um, The next thing I remember, me, my mom, my sister was up in the front of the church, joining the church. And my mother said that what happened was she seen me just get up and go up to the altar and started kneeling. And she was like, what is going on? So as time passed, 8, 9, 10, 11 years old, I started to notice, okay, I don't have very many friends. My sister and I are not on one accord anymore. It was almost like a total shift. My sister turned to this person, and I know that if she's linked on and she's looking at this YouTube, I know that maybe my family is not ready to, like I said earlier, heal or talk about the past to heal. So that I don't know what may happen after I tell my story this openly, but it was almost like my sister and I totally shifted. We became not as close as we used to be. Um, the things my father was doing to my mother, when my mother would leave, my sister would do to me. It was almost like, okay, now my dad abused my mother. Now my sister is abusing me. Okay, is that normal? What's going on? And why, when mom leave, do my sister go off on me like that? So it was almost like, okay, I don't have any friends. I can't talk to my sister anymore. Let me just stay to myself. That's basically what I did. It was almost like I was a loner. I just, and I was, it didn't hurt me. It didn't bother me. It was just almost like, okay, I'm by myself. And I know that if I don't know anything else, I know to pray, and I know to read the 23rd Psalms. That's exactly what I did. That's what I done. If I wasn't reading a book, I was reading the 23rd Psalms. And time went by, and mind you, all this time that my mother's getting abused, she's still with my father. She's still with him. She stays with him. And so I'm thinking that is the norm. That's the norm, and it's okay. And sometimes I guess that's what men do. They hit on their wife, or they hit on her, and it's okay. So my mother my father decides that we're gonna move from New Jersey to Greenville, and we're gonna take care of my grandmother, who I've never met. At this time, I'm 13. Because we're from New Jersey, I never met my father's mother until I moved to Greenville, South Carolina. So I was 13 years old, only knew one set of grandparents, one side of the family, and here we are going to move to this place called the South, Greenville, South Carolina. And I'm like, okay, I already ain't got no friends. Okay, what's gonna happen? So little did I know, we wasn't just moving to Greenville, South Carolina because um, we were going to take care of my grandmother. We really truly wasn't coming to take care of my grandmother. It really was because my father was really, really, really deep into being a big time drug dealer. Did I know that? No, I just knew that I would see him cook, and he was cooking this stuff and package and sell. I knew that we had a whole lot of traffic. I knew that I just knew that our house was always the go-to house. So long story short, from that, we moved to Greenville, South Carolina. And then, of course, the abuse still continued. And my mother still she went to school down here, and she finally becomes a nurse. So now I'm questioning, because like I told you, I was always a nosy person as a child. And to me, it wasn't me being nosy. I just had to know what was next, what was going on, what happened. I always questioned things. I was always inquisitive, and I was always, almost in a respectful way, let them know how I felt, and it wasn't what was right and what was wrong and what I didn't feel right about. Of course, back in the day, that was me being fast, but that was okay. I still needed to know what was going on and what was happening. And I got confused by the point of realizing, okay, my father deals these drugs. That's what these are. Well, I wanted to know and was so inquisitive at one time. I went to the spot where he hid it at and actually snorted it. And I was like, okay, well, what's this? Well, it don't taste like nothing. well, why are they going so crazy over it? Why are they paying for it? What is this about? And when I finally told my mother years later about what I'd done, she just shook her head because she was like, you don't understand how covered you were, because when you
Mm,
touched that and you sniffed it and nothing happened, there's so many people that
Mm.
get hooked on that drug, what he was selling. And so many
mm.
people that come back for more, and you done that and nothing happened to you. She said, so you
Girl.
really be thankful that God was covering you.
Mm.
So I at 13, I was getting mad at my mother because I was like, here I have a mother who is now a nurse, and she's a detox nurse. She works at detox center. So I have a
Oh.
mother that's a detox nurse, and I have a father that's a drug dealer. So he sells the drugs, and she rehabilitates them. How that work? Who does that? So I was so confused. I never asked questions, but I always said, if I ever, whenever I do grow up, I'm not going to um, be that type of parent. Yet and still, I love my parents with a passion, but I knew that I wanted to do the opposite. I wanted to be open with my kids. I didn't want to have any secrets. I didn't want to be their friend. I wanted to be their parent, but I wanted them to know you ain't got to go to nobody else to talk to nobody else. You can come to your mother.
Right.
So growing up, and as I grew up and got older, I got more into, I stayed in the church, and I knew that was my grounding. That was where my root was, into the church. Because if I couldn't go anywhere else, I could go to church, and I could pray, and I could cry, and I could ask God to continue to please help me mentally. It was always my mental that I was concerned with, because I didn't want to just go crazy, because I was going through so much, from a younger child until now a preteen and now a teenager. And then, of course, when you're a teenager, you're a little rebellious, when you want to do different things, but you still got to go to church, and your mother's telling you you got to do this and you got to do that. And I remember moving from one school, Berea High School, to another school, Carolina High School, where I met my at that time, he was just a friend. And I think I was not just I wasn't just attracted to Brian. I think because he was a very compassionate individual, very compassionate guy, that I was very attracted to that. I've never been attracted to someone by the facial
Mm.
features. I always
Mm-hmm.
look past that, because that's the way I looked at myself. So I think because he was very compassionate, that's what attracted me to him. And I thought to myself, okay, I really need to don't take my focus off of what I'm doing, because I know that I'm grounded in the church. And of course, by tradition, church always say, you stay the narrow. You don't let your detours go this way. You don't need no boyfriends. You don't need that. And shoot, I was attracted to him. I wanted a boyfriend.
Right.
So I said to myself, I can do this. I can have a boyfriend and still go to church and sing on a choir and do all of that. And you know, so we started out as friends, and um, I guess we dated for about a year, and then going into that next year, Ywanda ends up pregnant. And oh my God, what am I going to tell my mother? I'm pregnant. I know I ain't supposed to be doing what they say grown-ups do, but at this time I'm 19. But here in my mind thinking, I'm still my mother's child, and I don't want to disappoint her. And oh my goodness, I'm pregnant. And well, who I'm with, he's very compassionate. He's going to support me, and it's
Mm-hmm.
going to be okay. And wrong. Um, Brian was supportive in his own way. He was still compassionate, but of course, you can't make nobody be responsible. Um, I had to do what I had to do. I was pregnant, and I was still going to school, and I was still working. Um, Brian was a year ahead of me. He was already working. He was already doing his thing. He was already in his career, even before he met me. So I couldn't make him, uh, you know, try to grasp reality, because we were gonna have this baby. Okay, to him, we was gonna have this baby, and life ain't gonna change for him. But for the flip side, it's gonna change for me, because I got somebody that I know that I have to be responsible enough to take care of. And I remember after having him, getting into an argument with him, and that was probably the first time that he ever put his hands on me. And we wasn't even married yet. And in my mind, that's what men do. That's
That's
what
what you
men
saw.
do
Yeah.
because that's all I seen, you know. And I had that feisty side of me where I was like, "Don't put your hands on me," and da 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 this, but I still stayed, you know. And here come baby number two, and around baby number two, um, he joins a motorcycle club and brought my husband. He was very well known as that street racing, drag racing motorcycle demon. I mean, he could take a bike and just walk it like he was walking down the street on one wheel. I mean, he was awesome at what he done. And I wanted to support him, but I couldn't support him like he wanted me to because I had two babies. And it was either in my mind, both parents can't be out there. One got to take care of these kids, you know.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I support you. I'm behind you. Yes, I love you. You go ahead on to the track, but I got these babies that I got to, you know, to take care because I'm not going to leave my kids because you want my support. You know, it's not just me and you anymore. You know, and
Right.
I think the downfall to my marriage was because I didn't support him enough and I chose to be responsible with my kids. That was my downfall number one. Um, but in my eyes, I have to, you know, I had to sacrifice something. And I wasn't sacrificing my kids just to, like others told me, girl, you better go on with him. He got so many, what you call them, what you call them,
Groupie.
groupies, honey. He got groupies, and I was like, you know, I can't worry about that. I got two groupies of my own, my kids,
Okay.
you know. So I had to literally just tell myself, okay, it's gonna be okay. I can't worry about what he's doing. I got these kids, and um, it's gonna be all right. So eventually, um, things settle down a little bit between me and him, and you know, he's being this dad that he's supposed to be, and he's working, but he's not gonna give up his racing. He's not gonna give up his racing. Either I come on board and support him, or I just miss out, basically. And I just, you know, like I said, I chose to just miss out because my kids they came first. Time goes by and I decide, okay, I need to buckle down, no more kids. So of course I get to the place to where, you know, I tell my doctor no more kids, and things are not good at home front with me and my then boyfriend, but yet still we engaged, and we're gonna get married and things are gonna work out good, and he's gonna be okay. He's gonna get better after we get married. You know, that's the for me, that was the way of telling myself that I'm not going to be a person that don't give another being a second chance. Not a second chance at that time. I'm not going to judge anybody because everybody had their faults. Just like I got my faults, he has his faults. So I can't just really judge him because sometimes he's a little angry or we get into arguments and I'm not supporting him and he's angry about that. But I literally probably at that time was started pushing myself all the way back, all the way back. I started becoming dim while I was supporting him and being there for him, raising him up to become a bright light. Because in my mind, if we're together, we're one, and
Right.
we are this light, you know. So we get married, and gosh, I didn't know till after he passed how many people didn't want us to get married. That's
Oh, wow.
another whole story. But we get married, and we have what I didn't think was a huge wedding, but everybody said was a huge wedding, and we have this beautiful wedding, and we get married, and we go on, and you know, we buy a house, and we're raising our kids, and then I get the phone calls. The phone calls start coming, not just per se from other women. Um, the phone calls was almost like you need to watch your husband, or I'm not saying who I am, but if you go to such and such now, you'll find your husband, stuff like that. But I
Mm.
was the type of woman that, first of all, I'm not going to follow you. I'm not following you. I'm not going to go through your phone. I'm not going to listen to the phone calls that I'm getting, because in my hindsight, I'm always saying to myself, what's done in the dark will always come to the light. And
Yes, it
I
will.
always prayed during all of what was going on in my marriage with my husband. I always prayed, whatever is going on, I need for you to reveal. Because
Yes.
if I go search for it, then
You're gonna find it.
I'm going to, it wasn't even that I was going to find it, because when when someone's cheating, and if you've been with them long enough, you already got the answer.
Right.
So basically, in the back of my mind, well, heck, I know, but nah, he's not cheating. Not at all. So long story short, we were in the process of getting ready to build another home. And during this process, so much was going on. I guess he really was just getting sick. He started getting nosebleeds and started getting high blood pressure. He never had high blood pressure. He was a avid drinker of Absolute Cranberry, but I mean that was just from what you call a weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday thing, and back to work on Monday. He was good. So I'm like, okay, where's the nosebleeds coming from? What's going on with that? So the doctor says it's not this, it's not that, but it has to be something that's bothering you to the point to where it's got your blood pressure so high that you're having nosebleeds. Mr. Williams, what's really going on with you? Something is going on to where it's stressing you to the point to where you are a high blood pressure recipient of not just regular high blood pressure. You up there. It's like 200 over 140, stuff like
Oh
that.
wow.
So I believe it was so high that he knew, okay, I'm going to have to relieve this stress, and I'm going to have to tell my wife that I have a baby. So
Oh.
he had to come clean about having a baby. We had just had our last baby, my third baby.
Mm.
So in the process of, when he was telling me, a person's so good because you've been with him so long. I told him when this other woman got pregnant, because that's how good I knew him.
Mhm.
And I told him, I said, I know you so well, you don't even know me. I told him when she got pregnant.
Wow.
And to the point to where through my prayer and through what I was going through, I think the baby took me by surprise more than him having an affair. The affair didn't bother me. It really didn't bother me, because if I was truthful with myself as I was, I really didn't trust him from the get-go. That was strike number two. How do you get married to somebody that you really don't trust? Or how do you get married to somebody that you accept that you don't put your all in 100%? At my bridal shower, they was doing a truth or dare, and they was like, okay, the next question, do you trust Brian 100%? And they was shocked when I said no. And they was like, what do you mean? And someone said, well, I trust my husband 120%. I said, well, that's good. I'm happy for you. But I don't trust mine, because first of all, he's a man. And my experience from my father on down, every man that I've come in contact with, I don't trust them. And that stemmed from, I didn't know back then, the molestation. So I didn't trust him. I married him anyway because I didn't want my kids to be without a father. And that is the worst thing you can ever do in your life, is to
Yes,
stay
it
with
is.
someone because they're the children's father.
Right.
You will mess kids up.
I don't
The
think
best
parents know that.
I,
I don't think parents know
I
how
guess
messed up
that's
their kids will be.
that's one thing that I didn't even, when I tell you I didn't realize it until it was too late. I did not realize that me staying with my husband at the time was affecting my kids. I did not realize it until um my mother-in-law my mother-in-law got diagnosed with cancer, and I stopped working to take care of her because my mother-in-law, I did not have the horror story. She was my best friend. My husband used to say, well, you married me because of her. You didn't marry me because nobody else, and we would laugh about it. But she was she was my supporter. She was my best friend. So when she got sick with cancer, wasn't nobody else gonna take care of her but me. So it was almost like, okay, she passes away. Okay, now what I'm gonna do? It was almost like I was ignoring trying to figure out what I was going to do in my marriage. If I had something to do, or somewhere to go, I could ignore that with that deed and not have to deal with what was happening in my marriage because, okay, here we got this baby and now I'm a stepmother. And I'm like, okay, now I'm a stepmother. Well, who does that? And you're still married. So I ignored all of that, trying to heal from all of that. Because like I say, I'm the person that gives people second chances. And of course, I'm not blaming him for having an affair. I'm not blaming him for any of that. I'm just trying to give him that second chance. And I'm trying to, be, open-minded about, not being perfect. So long story short, my mother-in-law passes, and I started realizing, okay, I haven't healed. And I remember a time I was sitting on the couch and I was sitting there thinking, I have put myself on the back burner for an individual. I've even put myself on the back burner for my spirituality, thinking I was doing the right thing by being submissive to the one I married, not realizing that, first of all, we're not even equally yoked. I'm saved, he's not. Does it make him a bad person at all? But his views are not like my views. His prayer is not like my prayer, even if he not even praying at all. So I had to realize, okay, you got to get yourself together. I don't know how you're going to do it, but you got to get yourself together because you got these kids that are wondering why you still with somebody who's tried to kill himself because you said you was done and allowed your kids to see him with this rifle. Why are you still with someone? I remember my daughter asked him one day when I sat my kids down, when I found out about the baby. My son was 10, my daughter was 7, and my youngest, Summer, she was little, so she really didn't understand that she had a brother. But I sat them down because I wasn't going to be one to hold a secret from my kids. It was about their life too. And of course, my family, you don't need to tell them kids. First of all, you're not thinking if they don't know who this dude is, and my daughter and him are only 1 year apart. What if they see each other and date?
Right.
And that's her brother. I'm not having it. So I need to sit my kids down. I need to tell them what's going on. And I remember my daughter asking her father, so daddy, when you was telling mommy that you was going to shoot pool, you was going over there with this other family. And I remember him just sitting there looking at me. And I thought, okay, well, maybe he's just speechless because she's outspoken like I was at a young child age. But he was upset with me for telling them anything. And that's when I realized, okay, my views are not like his views. And we're supposed to be in a marriage. My views are not like his views. His way of love is almost identical the way my father's was with my mother. And I always said I wasn't going to marry anybody like my daddy. And lo and behold, I did marry somebody that was just like my daddy. The drugs, he was a drug dealer. I had no idea. I had no idea that my husband used to sell drugs. He was almost identical to all the stuff that my father was. And I thought I was doing the opposite of what my father was doing. And then I realized, okay, well, I'm my mother and he's my father. And it done rolled over into another generation. And I said, I cannot continue to do this and live and smile when I'm going to church and everybody calling us a power couple. Here come the power couple. And I know on the inside, really, this is what you call power? This a power couple? because we ain't making no moves. We 5 months behind on the mortgage. The lights getting cut out. Sometimes the water getting cut off, and y'all calling us a power couple because y'all looking at the outside exterior of how we look and how we dress and how people think we living rich, but we barely making it. Okay. Reality hit me and slapped me in the face when we became homeless. We was homeless, and no one here in Greenville, but probably 5 people knew we was homeless because
My
people
God.
assumed BW with that. That's what they call my husband. BW was the man, and he got his family, and he taking his family in because when he go out to shoot pool, everybody in the dugout getting a drink on BW. He out there got a tab $500 long, and he over here at the house, my lights being turned out. So I had to really understand, okay, things are not going to get any better if I keep ignoring what's going on. And I remember April 8th so vividly, April 8th, 2016. It was a Friday, and I had left our bedroom maybe probably 6 months before that, because when somebody cheats on you, you know the routine when you start seeing stuff change again. My mom was like, okay, he ain't just out there to be out there, and he ain't just gambling, or he ain't just shooting pool coming in at this time in the morning. And this time, I'm not as ignorant as I was the first time. So you know the signs. So I remember 6 months before April the 8th, I called my pastor and I told him, I said, Pastor Doug, and I said, I'm tired. I said, I have tried and tried and tried to support my husband. He's tried to support me. He love his family. I know he love his family, but his way of love is not what I want to continue to be in. And I used to tell myself I did not want to be a statistic of divorce, but
Yeah.
I was so tired of holding him up. And I get so upset when I see people post, if you just stroke a man ego and you do this and you do that, he ain't gonna cheat, he ain't gonna go nowhere, because that's all they need. And I'm like, lies. Because I done everything and more that I was supposed to do as a wife. I done it by the Bible. I done it by just living. I done it by tradition. I done everything. I lined everything up, even when I felt like, okay, he cute, but that's not my husband. Let me not go there, because you have to remember, I really stayed with him because I wanted my kids to have that family. So when you're really not that in tune and in love with your spouse, yeah, you're going to think somebody else is cute. And that right there is a red flag for you in a marriage. Because when you're in a marriage, you don't have eyes for nobody else. When you truly, truly with that spouse and y'all are a pair and a couple and y'all are one, when you see him, he make your eyes melt. And when he see you, his eyes are just, that's it. You have no eyes for nobody else. So I remember telling Pastor Doug, and I said, I am so tired. I mean, I'm not just tired physically, I'm just tired, spiritually tired, mentally tired. I'm physically tired. I'm tired. I said, I really am done. I want to leave. And I remember him listening and saying, oh, okay, so you want to leave? And I said, I think I'm done. And he said, oh, okay. He said, so what's your plan? What's your plan? Um, I said, what you mean? He said, well, okay, let's break it down. You don't have a job. He the sole provider. You don't drive no more because your license got taken. Um, you don't you don't do nothing. You don't have no savings no more. You don't have no check-ins. You don't have anything. So if you leave, where you going? What you gonna do? He said, give yourself 6 months. Give yourself 6 months. Write out a plan. Get your mind and your act together, and ask God to continue to cover you. And we'll talk in 6 months. So I remember so vividly, 6 months later, April the 8th of 2016, I woke up after Brian left for work, and we had gotten so distant. Um, all it was have a good day, and he said, you too. That was it. We would have our time to have fun with the kids and laugh. We would have our time to have fun with the grandkids. But other than that, we were actually really just best friends now. I wasn't going to allow myself to be walked over anymore.
Mhm.
So I had stopped saying yes to him. I had started saying no. I had stopped stroking his ego, because I said, if I'm stroking it, who else stroking it? So let them
Mhm.
stroke it. I stopped doing everything that a wife would do, except for cooking for him, keeping his clothes clean for work, and keeping the household the way it was supposed to be. I said to myself, I'm going to do everything that I need to do, but I'm not going to do everything that I want to do, because I know that God is still holding me accountable, because I'm married, and that's still my husband. And after all is said and done, if he's not just my husband, that's my friend. He gave me three beautiful kids, and now I have, at that time, three beautiful grandbabies. And if anything else, I thank him for that. I thank him for that much. So I remember April the 8th, at 8 o'clock that morning, I said, God, I said, you have got to get me out of this marriage. And at this time, you guys, all of the beating that I did not even remember that he done to me, all of the oh God, all of the stuff he said to me, the mental abuse, all of that stuff that he said, I didn't even. It was so much. I had just totally blocked everything out. Everything. I blocked it out, because in my mind, I just wanted to be out, and I wanted to heal, and I wanted to live, and I wanted to be happy, because I was none of that. And I was tired of when people seen me smiling at them, and I felt like I was wearing a mask, and I was like, this is not me. I done lost me. I don't even know who I am anymore. So I asked him, I said, you have got to get me out of this marriage. I am so tired. I said, I don't even pray for my husband anymore. And that's not what I wanted as in a marriage. I don't pray for him anymore. I don't even get up off the couch and take a shower to the end of the day. And who does that all day long? Don't shower. I mean, little did I know how depressed I was in a marriage.
Mhm.
And I remember just praying and meditating all day. I didn't even cut the TV on that day. That's how peculiar April the 8th was. And he came home from work, and he peeped in the door. I heard his keys, and he opened the door. I was sitting on the couch where I was when he left, hadn't budged in 8 hours. And he peeked in, because he knew I would have our grandbaby in my arms. And he was like, let me see the baby. And came in, he played with the baby for a little bit, and we decided I was going to eat some wings for dinner. He was going to eat a pizza, so he ordered his pizza. Um, Sat there and waited for the pizza. We was watching a movie, and then I decided, well, I'm gonna get up and go get my wings. I want mine from Tony's. I don't want mine from Pizza Hut, where your pizza coming from. So I got up and asked my son, of all days, he didn't live with us. So, but this day he was there. So that meant all of us, my daughters, him, me, and my son, the whole family was home that day. So me and my son got in the truck, and we went to get some wings. And mind you, no license, driving under suspension, honey, because I'm all right. I got to go get my wings. And we going to get the wings, and my youngest daughter, who was a jokester with my husband, she called, and no, Brian called me first, and he said, and if anybody know Brian, he's a big jokester. I mean, he's a big jokester. He said, where you at? I said, I'm on my way back to the house. He said, I really think I'm having a stroke. And I said, Brian, I said, I'm tired today. I really don't have time. And I hung up. Um, So my second daughter called, my baby daughter called, and when she called, I didn't even answer the phone because I was like, my son was like, they playing. I said, I know they always playing, and I'm tired. I don't feel like doing that today. I'm tired. I'm just trying to get back to the house. My oldest daughter is she's almost like a miniature me. She's very serious at times, and my phone rang, and her number came up. And when I seen that, it almost kicked in. Something's wrong. And I went from we lived at that time by Dixie Circle. And I was way on Pleasantburg, probably at the other end of Pleasantburg by Krispy Kreme. I got to my house in 3 minutes. That's how fast I was going. Because I said to myself, now I just prayed this morning, and I told you, this is how I was talking to God. I told you that I was tired. And I told you I was done. And here you go, allowing something to happen. What is wrong? How much do you think I could take, God? I said, I'm tired. I'm tired. And I get there, and when I see that he is literally, he gave me a look like he knew this is it. This is it. And I looked at him and I said, okay. I said, whatever's going on, we got this. I said, we got this. The ambulance is on the way and everything is good. We're going to be okay. And while I'm saying that to him, my spirit man is saying, you just prayed and said you wanted out. Here you are saying, we got this. Which do you want? What's going on? So as the EMS got there, my husband went from talking. Everybody was able to tell him that they loved him. He went from talking to nothing. I mean, he was dead weight. Wasn't dead, but he was dead weight. It took the 2 EMS people and me and my son to get him on the gurney. That's how dead weight he was. On the way to the hospital, well, as they took him outside and put him in the ambulance, Spirit Man was talking to me. I need you to prepare yourself. I need you to prepare yourself because this is it. And I need you to prepare yourself because remember 10 years ago, I told you that you was going to bury your husband, but you shook it off. And I told you what was going to happen when you buried your husband. I told you what you was going to deal with. So here's the day. And I need you to focus because ain't no time to cry. And so I'm listening to this and I'm shaking it off. I'm pushing it back because I'm like, nah, we got this. We got this. And I look up and I say, God, they don't have their lights on in the ambulance. And I know from past experience in the health field, when you did, they don't cut the lights on. So I think they kept noticing me because I was right behind them. Looking, they flicked their lights on. And then I almost for certainly knew that was for pacification. That was to pacify my son because he was in there riding with him. And that was for pacifying everybody that was following the ambulance because everybody was fussing, wondering why those lights wasn't on. Well, immediately when we get to St. Francis, and I now know that God took over every bit of my being. Because when we got to St. Francis, God began to say, okay, now this is it. Because when you get there, you're not going to his room because he's not going to be okay. You're going to that room, they take you with a family and they tell you that something is wrong and they're not going to make it. And I begin to tell everybody that I called en route to the hospital. I looked at everybody and I said, I need y'all to be okay that we finna go in that room. No, don't say that he gonna make. I said, I said, we finna go in that room and they finna let us know that things ain't good and he ain't gonna make it. Oh no, things are gonna be. I said, okay, I've already told y'all that that's where we're going. Now, mind you, this is somebody I was with for at that time 24 years. I was with him for 24 years. So it was almost like I knew him like the back of my hand, you know, and I just knew it was almost like I knew internally that he wasn't okay. And if he was at the time, they would immediately come out when you go to the emergency room and come and get you and say, okay, your loved one is in this room. You can go on back. They wouldn't even look at me. Every time I went to the window at St. Francis emergency room, they would turn around and go back down the hall. When she finally did come to get us, I looked at everybody because Brian had he has a big family. And at that time, this person had called this person, and everybody ended up at the hospital. So when they was walking us back to where they thought his room was, the family, I'm looking at the nurse, and I already know that the family room is to the left. And that's the room that they tell you the bad stuff. And that's where we was going. So family went crazy and went berserk, and security was called. And I told them, I said, I need for y'all to understand that this right here was already spoken on. This is already predestined. And I know y'all think I'm crazy. I said, but y'all gonna have to get it together. So the doctor told us that Brian suffered aneurysm that was so bad, he had to have hit his head. And he kept asking me, where did he hit his head at? And I told him, I said, Brian was in his recliner. I said, Brian did not hit his head. And at that time, Brian's blood pressure was 435 over 275.
Oh my God.
And he had coded 3 times on the way to the hospital. That's why the lights wasn't on. So they told me, they said, Miss Williams, if his brain wasn't bleeding so bad, we could drain his brain. But because his aneurysm hit him in the very back of his spinal cord socket, where the spinal cord attaches to the brain, we can't touch it. We're going to do some more CAT scans. We're going to call in another specialist. We're going to see what we're going to do. If we can drain it, we'll try to drain it. But if we was to look at it right now, the blood is still coming. And if the blood takes over, he's going to be brain dead in less than 3 days. And I looked up and I saw my pastor. And it was almost like he looked at me like, are you ready? That's the look my pastor gave me. He didn't say anything to me, but what do you want me to do? I said, all I need you to do is pray. And it was almost like at this time, I literally left my body and somebody else took over, because it wasn't me. It wasn't me, because I started remembering what God told me 10 years ago. When you bury your husband, you're going to encounter and have to deal with many women. So it was almost like God prepared me 10 years ahead for what was coming the day that my husband was fighting for his life. The day that my husband was fighting for his life, the evening of April the 8th, I had to go to the chapel and ask God, okay, God, do you want me to deal with these women that's calling his phone? Or do you want me to deal with my husband? And immediately Spirit said, you are still his wife. You got some things to do and some decisions to make. Them women you can deal with later because they're irrelevant. And I know that had to be God, because any other woman that is not spiritually in tune with God either would have left him sitting there when they found out it's many women involved with your husband, or they would have tore up the hospital room because women was coming up there and they was on his telephone. But I done neither. I just knew that it just wasn't time for that. And I really wasn't focused on those women, because in my mind, they was irrelevant. And little did people know Brian wasn't who he was, because he was popping pills so bad, he was addicted to them. So this man that I was dealing with was not the man that I married. He was addicted to the pain pills that was supposed to help his back. He had started not just taking the pain pills that the doctor prescribed him. He would buy pills off the street and he would mix them together. 4 Tramadol, 2 oxycodone, 1 Percocet. But this day, he took 2 different pills, and actually probably that's what made him have a brain aneurysm.
Mm.
So in spite of me having to deal with knowing that he possibly caused his own death, I had to really realize and deal with, okay, I got to get this together. I got to keep my mind. And then at the end of that night, when they put him in ICU, I thought, oh God, he got another son. Now I got to deal with this other woman, because from when I found out about the child to Brian being in the hospital, he did not deal with his child. I would beg him to deal with that other child. Nah, we got to heal first, is what he would tell me. So who had to end up calling his mistress but his wife? So I said, okay, God, I need you to really sit inside of me now. I said, because I didn't do this, but I'm going to have to deal with it. And I need you to understand that you're going to have to help me, because it's, first of all, not the child's fault. And second of all, that is his father. And if I am who I say I am, I have to acknowledge that if it was the other way around, I would want my child to see their dad. So I couldn't keep that from this child. And because I knew that this woman loved my husband, I wanted her to have some closure. So I called and I told her, I said, I need you to get him up to this hospital, and I need you to get here now. And when she got up there, I said, before she got up there, I said, God, I need you to, when I say sit inside, I need you to sit inside of me, because I want everything to be according to your will. I want you to have
God bless.
the utmost control of this whole situation, because my husband is so popular, I know people are coming to be nosy. I know people are coming to try to figure out what's going on. I know people are whispering. I know people are talking, but I still got my kids, and I still got what I call my family. And I need you to cover us with the rest of these people, because at the end of the day, if I really think about it, my husband is going to die. Okay. So I need you to come and sit in me. And from her getting to the hospital with her son, standing there, looking, she was very, very, very emotional, trying not to be emotional, because remember, I'm the wife and she just the baby mama. And she don't want me to see her be that emotional. I went over there and comforted the child. And I'm like, yeah, this got to be God, because who in the world is going to comfort the baby mama that had a baby by her husband when they was married? Throughout Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, she sat by my side every day. And every
Wow.
day, each person that came looked at me like I was crazy. And I would not allow them to say anything negative about her. When I was pulled to the side and asked, what the hell is, I was like, that's Brian's son. If that's Brian's son, that means that's family. So this not the time for that. That's his son, period. Well, where he come from? I'm sorry you don't know about him. I'm sorry. I can't help that you don't know about him, but that's his son. And I'm not having that up here, because if I really think about it, this might be the end. And I'm not having no hell. This is going to be the way it's going to be. Even when the doctors would come, okay, Miss Williams, you need to, no, I'm not making a decision, because my husband said that if anything like this ever happened, give him 3 days. If he ain't back in 3 days, pull the plug. And I knew in those 3 days, God was dealing with me. God was dealing with him. God was dealing with that other woman. I don't know about them other tricks, because they wasn't a part of the family. So I didn't worry about them other women. God was dealing with my kids. I knew that I had to focus, because I knew that this was all ordained. And if it may sound crazy to some, but I know that God had a situation set up, and it may look weird and crazy to some, but it was a whole situation of healing. Because out of my husband's death, he healed, I healed, and my kids healed. And I remember when I decided to, when my daughter said, okay, my daddy is starting to turn gray. And you remember he said, don't leave him on that machine, and you got to let him go. And I remember having a small family meeting and telling, everybody, I got to pull the plug, because this is what his wishes were. And I got to pull the plug. And I remember allowing his family to stay around his bed, and letting, his mistress stay by my side as he took his last breaths. And I remember her rubbing on his feet, and I remember me rubbing on my arm. And I said, God, I know this is a crazy looking situation, and I know that people are like, oh my God. But I said to myself, that's just how you are. That's just how you work. You are so strategic. And
Mhm.
if anything, all my glory and praise go to you anyway. So I can't worry about what they're saying about me. I can't worry about
Amen.
how the situation look. I can't worry about how she even, trying to pull me to the side and say, oh my God, you are just so strong. And I had to tell her, nope, that's God. It's not me. Because if it was me, you wouldn't be here. So let's focus. We got to do this. But I remember strategically when he took his last breath, I think that's exactly when God almost like stepped to the side, and I looked at her and I said, okay, you got to go. He gone, because I don't have to deal with you no more. My kids are old enough now to call their brother. I allowed you to be here for his last breath, but you got to go. Bye. I dealt with you from Friday to Monday. I gave you respect that you didn't give me and my family. But now it's time for you and your son to leave. I need some time with my husband's body. And I stayed there and I talked to him. I told him I forgave him. I had to tell him I forgave him, because God took me through a quick transition in less than 4 days. And I had to tell him I forgave him, because if I didn't tell him that, I wasn't going to be able to move forward with the process of having to bury him. So after I talked to him and I told him I forgave him, and I left him there on the bed for the mortuary to get him. Um, I don't remember what happened. I just remember being at my spiritual mother's house the next day, because my kids say that I lost it. But the next day, I was with my spiritual mother, and she told me that I lost it, and she had to come and get me and all that stuff. But I remember having to go to my church, and not even realizing how well known this man that I was married to, how well known he was. And I'm thinking this is just going to be a regular funeral, and they're telling me, no, you need to get prepared. And I'm like, I don't need no programs, because I'm not in myself. I'm like, okay, he's really gone. And I'm asking God to forgive me, because I feel so free. And I felt bad because I felt so free. And nobody understood that. I knew he was free, so I was free too. And it wasn't that I was glad that my husband was gone. I was glad that he didn't have to be miserable anymore. I was glad that he didn't have to pop pills anymore. I was glad that he didn't have to grieve his mother anymore. I was glad that he didn't have to try to tell himself he wasn't worthless, and he wasn't nothing much of a man. I was glad that he didn't have to cheat anymore. I was glad that he didn't have to lie to me anymore. I was glad that my husband was at peace, and I knew that, God, I can finally breathe. I don't have to worry anymore. So during that whole week of trying to get the funeral together, and the other women trying to come out of the blue, the other women trying to send messages while he was in the hospital bed, telling this person to whisper this in his ear and tell this person, tell him I love him. Because if you really want to be truthful, he had about 7 other women. He was on 2 match dating sites. He was on Backpage. He was on AshleyMadison.com. He was on all of that. But because I knew that this wasn't the man that I married because of the drugs that he was on, it didn't bother me. Because that wasn't my husband. My husband left me a long time ago when he got addicted to pain pills. So it didn't bother me. And those women trying to call me and tell me, well, this is his mistress and that is his mistress, and me starting to name them by number. Okay, well, you're number 1 and you're number 2, and number 3 trying to call me and tell on number 4. Number 4 trying to tell me that my best friend at the time is at the beach with number 5. And I told number 5, okay, you ain't the only one. This don't bother me. You're not going to, if I can go through all the years of the hurt and pain that I went through, you women cannot bother me. You're not going to understand it, but I understand it because I was already prepared for it. So the months and the weeks went by, and they still tried to contact me. The months went by, and I got questions from his so-called friends. Where's his headstone so I can go and visit it? If you ain't got the money, I'll pay for it. And I'm like, wow, some type of friends you are. I just lost this man that I was with half of my life, and you worried about a marker. Did you ever think it might be hard for me to even buy that marker? Because to me, that was the end. No, you just concerned where he at so you can tell them females where they can go visit him at. Them friends that he thought his good, there were 2 guys that he always knew were real friends. And I'm just going to be so Travis Dogan and Walter McFadden. And at this point, Terrence Mansell, when I tell you they stepped up to the plate, my girls and I have not really had to want or worry about anything to this day. To this day. Those friends that told us, you ain't gonna have to worry about them. We gonna be there. I'm looking like, okay, where they at? Those
it goes fast.
Yeah, them friends that said that they was his brother's keeper and they was this. Now you gossiping about the women he was with in the street. Now you gossiping about Wanda, this and that. And I was so specifically strategic with his program because my husband made out his program 3 years before he died. Me and him. I made out mine and he made out his. And he specifically told me who to have on, who he wanted his pallbearers to be. He specifically told me who he wanted on his program. But it was a day that I let my flesh get to me. And I let one person on the program on purpose because I knew that this person had given my husband Viagra the day that he had his brain aneurysm. I knew that this person didn't have the best intentions for my husband, but claimed he was my husband's brother's keeper. And I purposely put him on the program because I wanted to see what he was going to do standing up there over his dead body.
Ywanda, your mic went.
You also know that he's cheating. So let's see what you're going to say over his body to his family and to his daughters. Let's see what you're going to say. And I probably, if I wasn't so numb that day I probably could have laughed because he sat up there and stuttered and stumbled. Because you can't lie. Nope. You cannot. That's one thing Brian said. He told Travis, funeral, no lies. So when he got up there and started stumbling, all I could do was sit there and smile. I said, you're being put on the spot, but you loved him. And if you loved him, you would have great things to say about him. but you have nothing to say. And I said, if these people, all 1,100, because that's how many people showed up to the funeral, 1,100. So many people showed up to my husband's funeral. My mother got angry because she said half of them was there to be nosy and half of them was
Oh
there,
yeah.
half of them was there to just to see if I
Yep.
was going to fall out and pass out. But when I tell you, I don't even remember being able to get up and speak at my husband's funeral, but I did. I got up and I spoke, have no idea what I said. But I knew that God told me, you got to say this and you have to say it now, because these people that you see, you ain't going to ever see them again. And I need to tell them something. So I said what he wanted me to say, and I sat down. You know,
Mm.
um, after my husband passed, it's almost, I had about a year of grieving, and I wasn't even grieving him. I was grieving how God was blessing me. It was almost like, when he say he will give you more than you can even utterly believe. He will open doors that you would never even pray for. He would your all will overflow. I grieved that so bad in the first year of his death that my spiritual mother had to tell me, you gotta stop. Yawanda, these blessings are yours and they're due for you. They're overdue. You're going to have to accept them. And that's just it. You can't, you went from one car to four cars. You went from no job to a job. You
Wow.
went from a job to two promotions on your job. You
Wow.
went,
Amen.
I mean, you can't grieve
Right.
what is yours. And
Mm-hmm.
it's not that you are happy, or it's not that you're not sad that your husband is gone. You are at peace, and you're going to have to start asking God to help you forgive, not your husband who you already forgave. You're going to have to ask God to help you forgive those women who's trying to hurt you. Help you
Right.
forgive his friends who's trying to talk about you, because by that time, a year later, my son looks so much like my husband. All my kids do, including the grandkids, look
They
so much
do.
like my husband. He was still hanging on to my husband, so he would go to the frequent spots that my husband went to. And at this time, they was so gung ho, that they couldn't get to me. They was talking to him. Well, your mother was mad that your daddy was cheating, so she pulled the plug on him and let him die. And I had to tell him, they want to hurt you because they can't get at me. They're
Right.
gonna say things to you that they can't say to me because they can't get at me. It's not that I'm private, it's just that I'm shielded.
Right.
And
Right.
it's not just a spiritual thing. This is a factual thing.
Right.
And if you don't understand who I am and don't understand what I just went through, not just in death, but in spirit,
Mm-hmm.
and it's time for me to start dropping these people off
Right.
of my circle, because where God is taking me, I can't be around them. I had to come away from friends that I loved,
Mm-hmm.
and they took it so personal. And I wanted to really tell them, it's so not about you. But if I
Right.
stay here, I can't go where he want me to go.
Right.
I've held on to being in the back and keeping quiet for 26 years. I went through this for a reason, and I've got to tell somebody else. I got to tell another family, another
Right.
wife. Yep, you went through it and you going through it and you gonna make it. Because if I can make it and still have my sane mind, you can make it. If I can make it after being aside my husband's mistress and his son and his other women, and still love on them and still help them grieve
Right.
and keep my head up and walk on, you can make it too, because it really wasn't about me anyway.
Right.
It wasn't
Let me
about me.
let me ask you this. I know you went through a lot, and you are the true definition of healing hearts. Like,
You are.
you are the true definition of healing hearts.
I'm
Um,
in awe.
because I don't think, to be honest, and I love to say this, that God give his toughest battles to his strongest soldiers, and God knows I wouldn't have been able to go through what you
Yes,
went I
You
wouldn't.
don't know. You
He knows
don't know
my
that.
temper. He knows I strike. I wouldn't have been able to do it. So I thank God for people like you, because that right there is inspiring, and in your story of telling how God came in and you was able to, by the grace of God, to become this other person that you would have never thought you would have been able to come. And my question is to you is, through all the hell that you've been through from 5 all the way up, how, or do you even know, or even ask the question like, Lord, how was I able to continue to keep the faith? Or what did you do during that time? Did you continue to think that I know it got to be better, or I know there's hope, or what was it? Because people that go through this, that's the question, the main question that some of them ask is like, well, how did you,
I think because I would ask God, okay, what do I do next? And he would literally give me an answer, because I sometimes didn't listen to that answer and seeing the results. And sometimes I would listen to the answer and see those results. I started being knowledgeable on how obedient I had to be in life with man's law and in spirituality with God's law. I started noticing, okay, well, when I don't listen to this voice that I hear, this goes wrong. And when I listen to the voice that I hear, this goes right. And I remember, I had to come to grips with, I can't allow that anger to overtake me, because I seen what it did when I did let it overtake me. I'm not that one that's perfect. I ran, when I let anger overtake me, stuff like me backing up and running over my husband, putting him in the hospital is what happened. So when I seen stuff like that happen, I was like, okay, I can't let this woman take over. That's not me. I got to allow this woman to take over. And if I am saying that I have a relationship with God, I got to listen to him, and I can't let my anger overtake me. Was I mad? Was I pissed off? God, yeah. Did I want to get revenge? Sometimes on my husband when he was living, and sometimes, on other stuff that I knew about. Yes, I did. But I also seen when I did not act on my revenge, I seen that when God said that he will, handle that, how he handled it, and how strategic he would handle it, and how he would let me, how he allowed me to see. Didn't I tell you that I would cover you? How he allowed me to see that my obedience was strongly true, So I would say to the person, always remember that you have the power to overcome your anger. You have the power to overcome when you want to cuss somebody out. You got the power to overcome keeping your tongue in your mouth and not using it. You got the power. You have the same power that pastor got when you say, Pastor, can you pray for me? You can pray for yourself. Because it's many times that my pastor knew what was going on, but was I going to call him? No, because I knew I can get a prayer through. God done showed me already. So I don't have to bother my pastor all the time. You have to understand that the same power that this person that many idolize in the church is the same power you got. Only the person in church is your shepherd. He's covering you. He's teaching you. He's teaching you to make you understand you can do the same thing I'm doing. You just got to stay in your word. You got to stay grounded. So I would tell the person to first of all, don't lose yourself to the anger. Don't lose yourself to the depression, because I did. I lost myself to the depression, and I had to end up getting a spiritual mentor. And when I felt weak, always have you an accountability, not just an accountability partner, because there's one thing to have an accountability partner, but, and this is just me, and some people may not believe in God, but for me, my accountability partner had to be spiritual, because I knew that was the only way that I was going to get through what was coming at me, because what was coming at me wasn't natural. It was of the spirit. I didn't know what I was getting ready to encounter after my husband passed, but that spirit knew, and that spirit wanted me to stay where I was. It didn't want me to come up out to even tell my story, but as I had an accountability partner, my spiritual partner, when I was down, she would lift me up, and she still does. So don't put yourself by yourself. You cannot handle it by yourself. It's not going to just be through prayer either. You cannot just pray and say, okay, God gonna make a way. Well, if you ain't moving, how he gonna make a way? If you ain't
That's
doing
my
it, how he gonna make a way? He wants you to realize that he's gonna make a way, but sometimes he wants you to also put action to helping him make that way.
that
So
that's my question is like the
yeah,
forgiving part. Like, is
and-
it something that you worked on every day? Because I know I'm not gonna get into my story, but for me, that's probably the hardest thing is just to forgive, like all those years of abuse, like just forgive it, like just say, like that's hard. Like it's hard for me to say, especially when I know that this person did it to other people. So how did you like how easy or how hard was forgiving for you, like forgiving Brian and forgiving the mistress, just to let her sit at your husband, like you let her sit at her side. And like Shonda, I don't know if I could do that. I don't know if I could have, I even hate to say the word, but I don't know if I could have somebody, I can't even say the word, but I couldn't have somebody
but you know
sit
what?
beside.
That's part of healing. That's part of forgiving. You have to speak it.
I
You
didn't even want my person at my daddy's funeral. I was happy when she didn't show up. My abuser was a cousin, a female cousin.
right,
Um, I was so happy that she wasn't there. Like it relieved a little pressure. And then like a few months later, like I don't know if you remember, but like my dad died, and
right,
then my dad's sister died, and then my grandmother died. Like right after that, I
right,
was so happy. I mean, I didn't go to the funeral, and then we had an uncle that died. Like four people died in
right,
our family within a year, and I didn't go to her mom's funeral because I was like, I don't want to deal with her. Like I'm just not dealing. I'm just not gonna deal. And I didn't, and she didn't come to my uncle's funeral, and I was happy about that. And she didn't come to my dad's funeral. Or at least I don't remember who was at my dad's funeral, to be honest. But I don't remember her being
right,
there, and I was happy about that. So I'm still working on just forgiving because I know that it'll give me some peace if I
right.
do let it go. So just listening to your story is like amazing, and I don't think you know how much it has helped me because a lot of people have
Amen.
talked to me about forgiving, but listening to your story and how you, I mean, gosh, I'm just like I have chills. I'm
I
I'm
would
just
say I would say to you, I'm listening to you, Michelle. I don't mean to cut you off, but I've heard you say it 3 times how you was glad when you didn't see her and you was glad you didn't have to confront her and you was glad if you continue to push away what hurt you, you'll never heal. If you
Amen.
continue to not acknowledge, okay, you've acknowledged she was a female cousin. Okay. Start to say her name. Even if it's just you in the mirror. And see, that brings tears to you because you gotta heal. What you're doing now is allowing her to continue to have power over you.
Yep.
Yes,
You
yes.
can't do that
Yes.
because you matter. You matter. And although her cowardism, like my uncle's cowardism, and at one time I said, even half of me still say my husband was a coward for having a mistress. And I've always told him if you didn't want me, just let me go. You can go head on, you know. But because he didn't want to see me with anybody else, he stayed as well. He couldn't deal with seeing me with anybody else, but he wanted to be with somebody else. If you continue to not acknowledge how much of a power hold that hurt and that unforgiveness has over you, you're going to continue to stay stuck. And that's when I realized, hold up, wait a minute. Now, wait a minute. Like, yeah, I allowed her to sit at his side, and yes, she had a baby, but ain't no damn way in the world she gonna have power over me. So I forgive her too. Yeah, she got to go. Okay, yep, I forgave him. Yeah, he got to go. Okay, my uncle, yep, I forgave him too. And I had to forgive my mother. I had to forgive her for staying with my father, who is still with my dad. Love my dad. Go see my mom and dad every day, but she was still abused by him, and I felt like this strong woman who showed me how to be a strong woman. You stay with your abuser. Okay, I had to forgive her. I had to forgive my dad. And now I'm at the point to where I talk to them and I have open family talks with them. And sometimes they look at me like, oh God, he should come again. But that's part of my healing. That's part of my my transparency and acknowledging who we was at that time to who we are now. That's part of my healing. If you love me, you'll be a part of my healing with me. If you don't, I still love you, but this is not going to hold me anymore. I got to go on, because I got stuff I got to do, so that's
I get
part
that
of.
part. I get that part because I remember as a kid, I had my mom and dad was good. I mean, I didn't have my mom and daddy. My mom was always there. She always did everything.
Right.
She had her own demons that she had to deal with, but
Right.
I had a 2-parent household. My daddy wasn't beating on my mama. He wasn't perfect, neither was she. But
Right.
my daddy was like my Superman. But so I think part of my problem and part of what's probably holding me back is that I don't want to make them look bad because they was just trying to work and they like I just don't want to make I just don't want to. And so in my family we don't talk about it. I don't think this is over the past couple of years has been the first time that I even said that it was a female because
Right.
that looks bad. Like that looks bad.
But
And
who
when I
says that
say,
looks bad? Is that you mentally
I mean, in
telling
my
yourself?
head, yeah, that's in my head.
It's the
Like
battle of the mind.
maybe it wasn't
That's
as
what it is.
bad as everybody else's. Maybe mine wasn't, as bad as yours. So that's something that I play in my own head. But
Yeah.
so I know that talking about it is helping.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that each day I'm getting stronger.
Right.
And another reason why I don't say the name, I think I told Shonda, but is that everybody knows this person. Like
You
everybody
can't
know her.
know.
Everybody in
So that
church
means,
know her.
so that means you're protecting the person that hurt you.
I
If
know.
I was, I remember my pastor telling me, you're not talking about it because you still want to protect Brian's legacy. And when you talk about it, Wanda, people ain't gonna believe you because they think Brian was this citizen that was just the bomb. And my husband was the bomb. To me, that's my husband still. I'm the only one that can say something bad about him. Don't say nothing bad about my husband. But if I was to continue to worry about his legacy, I would still be hurting. So if you continue to worry about who know her, you still gonna hurt. And you're still going to internally die. Because that's what you're doing. You're not allowing yourself to heal. You cannot, when you get to the point to where you don't give a damn about who know who it is, what she did to you, where she go to school, who she know on the street, you don't care who your daddy know, who your mama. When you get to the point where you are just concerned about Michelle healing and Michelle moving forward so she can be the best damn Michelle that she is, you are not going to care about saying her name. You ain't going to care about your mother being upset. You ain't going to care about what people say to you. You're not going to care, or you're not going to even think that you're tarnishing your father's name, because I know I'm not tarnishing my daddy's name. Yeah, he beat my mom. He had some issues that he didn't deal with. Yup, my mother stayed. She had some self-esteem issues that she hadn't dealt with. That's still my mama and my daddy. My sister, yup, she abused me. That's just some issues that she had. That's not to say that that's not my sister and I don't love her. I gotta heal. So when you know your worth, Michelle, and you at the point to where you think you know your worth, baby, let me
This
tell
ain't
you.
about me. This is about you.
Listen, when
Listen to the
you
word that's going forth, girl.
really know your worth and who you are, what you're gonna do is start saying, "Oh my God, oh my God." And when somebody says something or ask you, and it's perfect for you to say no, or I can't, or I don't care, or I love you, but that's when you healing. That's when you forgiving. Because now Of course, it's she thinks she all that, or Ywanda's this, and when I tell you, I could care less about what anybody say about me. I don't care. I have no thought or care process about what the next person say about me in this world, because nobody had to go through what I went through. And I can now actually feel good in saying I daggone made it. I made it.
Amen.
So if you want to really and truly forgive, I'm not talking about saying, because I said it too. I forgive him when he was living, but I threw it back up in his face all the time. When you really want to say, I forgive her, and I'm sorry that you're the person that you were at that time, that's when you know you're healing and forgiving. Yes, you will still cry. I still cry. But now my tears are, when I say they are so sweet. And the peace that God, it's not even that passes all understanding. It's way past that, girl. My peace now, honey, I be feeling like, God, do I even want to date? Oh God, do I even want? I'm feeling good, because I've let it all go, and I'm free to talk about it and not worry about people saying you tarnishing your husband's name, or how dare you say it about your mother. Okay, but what about me? It happened to me.
Amen.
So I'm just grateful that I'm still able and willing and here mentally to talk to anybody that want to hear about it. It's a look to me. It's a little story, because people, you got to realize, have been through more than I have.
Right.
But I've just really told God, I said, if you get me through this, and you get my mind to where it needs to be, and you order all of my steps, I will tell the country, the nation, that you can be damn well healed, and you can make it. You can make it.
And I appreciate you for coming on and
Appreciate
telling your
all of y'all.
story
Yes.
I appreciate
and giving me some nuggets because you really and truly helped me tonight more than you
Yeah.
know. So
Yeah.
I appreciate you
We need
giving us
you on
this
the Healing
time.
Heart team, girl.
Yes,
Huh?
we do need you. Listen,
I'm here
listen.
to do whatever you need me to do, honey.
We
Everybody need to heal, so I'm here. Whatever you need me to do, I'm here to do it. That's
so we
fine.
appreciate you.
I appreciate you, ladies. Thank y'all so much. Are you beautiful, beautiful queens? Thank y'all so
Thank
much.
you. Thank
Thank y'all
you.
so much. I appreciate it. I really do, for the platform. Thank
And
you.
this will not be the last time you'll be hearing from us, ma'am, or we'll be hearing from you, because we want you to
I'm here.
one of our first Fridays to the more intimate session, because you would empower a lot of people. You really would. And just listening at your story, and this is one thing I wanted to say to you. As I was sitting there listening the whole time, I was like, wow, Lord, you was teaching her how to fight in the spiritual realm and not
Amen.
fight in the physical realm. And a lot of times that's what we do. We want to fight in the physical, not understanding that we're fighting principalities, we're fighting darkness, and it has to be fought in the spiritual realm. And God showed you that in order to fight it in the spiritual realm, you had to fight it with love.
Yep.
And
Amen.
Yep.
like
You
the word
have
God
to.
says, love conquers all. Love is the key to everything. And when I was listening to Michelle, and I was like, how you saying, not forgiving, you don't want to, it's like almost saying, I'm not going to forgive you. You mean to tell me forgive you for all the abuse? It's not you forgiving them for any of what they've done to you. And you're looking at it in the spirit, in the physical realm.
Right.
Allow God to show it to you in this more spiritual aspect. And you can, when he shows it to you in a spiritual aspect, you'll be able to understand you're fighting a spirit. You're fighting because we're spiritual beings. We have to fight in the spirit. We can't fight using this body. You'll get physically tired. You'll get bugged down. You'll get drained. You'll get hurt. All these emotions that we carry. But as a spirit, you have to fight another spirit in the spirit.
Yeah.
So
Amen.
I
You have to.
really,
Yeah.
I really appreciate it. And Miss Anna, what you got to say before we go? she been
Oh my God.
you know.
I was over here crying. I was
I'm sorry.
no. Oh my gosh. It was because I could relate when you said, oh my gosh, I don't even know where to begin. There was so much going through my head. I'm like, I'm going to watch this over and over. There were so many lessons to be learned. Well, I think what connected me was when you talked about just how much you wanted to, fight in the flesh, but you know that if you let your anger control you, God would show you like, okay, you're trying to do it your way. And that's not it was about being obedient because I wanted so many times to get back at the people that hurt me. And
Girl, honey,
I
don't know.
would make a mess of it. I would make a mess of it. And I just started letting God handle it. And I'm in that place in my life where people are being exposed.
What?
And things are being exposed. And all those years of being lied on and people not believing my story or whatever, it's like, it's coming.
When I tell you, listen, this is what, if I leave anything with you three ladies listening to Anna, because I said I was not going to get emotional. I said I wasn't going to do it. But listening to her, I said to myself one day, I got to choose. I got to choose if I'm going to fight this in my flesh or if I'm going to fight this in my spirit. Because I know that this whole thing ain't about just me. It's about whatever God instilled in me that other spirit don't want to counteract with God. Amen. So that means whatever's in me is deep. And I want that to manifest to the next woman or the next family. So let me just sit back and choose God to fight everything that comes my way. And sit back and watch him block the fiery darts, block the lies, block the hurt with laughter, to actually sit back and watch your enemies look at you beam and you don't even know you beaming. You don't even realize you look good. To sit back and know that they talking about you and you don't give a damn. Choose. Because you can either do it the fleshly way or and who's to say it's okay if you don't choose God, but you need to make a choice. Be woman or man enough to choose. Be big enough to be the big person and choose. If you want to live that way, live that way. If you want to live this way, live this way. I found that God is a warrior for his child.
Amen.
He
Amen.
will stop everything for his child, especially when he tell you, just watch. And all I heard was, just you watch. And when I tell you, sometimes I used to have to sit at the table like, oh my God, because it was amazing what he was doing. So if I was to leave anything, I would say just choose. And hopefully you'll choose you. Choose you. Not that you got too much pride, but just choose you. Because it ain't got nothing to do with pride. God wants you to love yourself. You can't love nobody else. You can't love Rico the way he love him if you ain't forgiving people and you still hurting on the inside.
Amen.
If he love you now, just imagine the person he would see if you actually heal. Girl, you will overflow him. That Negro wouldn't be going nowhere. Girl, please.
Listen, he ain't going nowhere now.
You better start healing. You better heal, honey. You better heal. Because the more you heal, the more your marriage come together.
Mm-hmm. I see that because I can see.
You got a partner that supports you.
And where I am right now.
Yeah,
so I know that because I've come a long way. I was just a quiet, shy, staying in the back, letting everybody else handle things. So I can see the progression that I've made, and I know I'm going to get there because I know God has me covered, because I am actually getting to see that even though you didn't go to jail and nothing was done, I can see what you're doing and how you are now, and you are in pain. You're in pain a lot of days.
Amen.
And I'm out here living my best life. People don't understand. People know me from then, and they don't understand now. How is she doing what she's doing right now?
Exactly.
Like, what is she doing? So
exactly.
I can see
you can't preach to people about God, but you can live and show them what God has done in your life, and that right there is God doing His work. You ain't got to say there is a God. There is a God. Just live.
Right.
They already know you believe in God. So when they realize that it's God that's living in you and He's doing what He said He would do, it's up to them to believe or not. But I know what He done for me. So, and He's still doing it. So
Well, I thank you, ladies. We done went like an hour and a half.
oh Lord Jesus. Okay, I'm done.
This has been amazing, 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 amazing. Shonda, thank you for even putting this together. Anna, thank you. Yawanda, I love you.
I love
back, I love you.
And share. I'm gonna personally share this video every day.
I am till it's time to do our next one. I will be sharing.
Sure, we on the same page. I was thinking that. It's time to do the next.
Somebody needs to share. Somebody needs to hear this, and it's like you said before. It's gonna be some nosy people, but it's gonna be some people that it helped. Because I know, if it helped me, and I know that me doing this is helping. Not only I think I'm helping other people, but it's helping me. So I know if it helped me, it's gonna help somebody else. So I appreciate you. I love you, ladies.
Thank you. And at this point in life, I want them to be nosy. Maybe they'll heal.
Hey, yes, let's be nosy, and maybe one day soon I might be like you.
You will.
You need to drop the mic. Drop the mic. That's like saying try. Nuh-uh. You gonna do it. You gonna do it.
One day I am gonna say.
She is gonna do it.
You are gonna do
it. Listen. It just takes a little bit. I'm still quiet, shy, Michelle.
It's okay. You're gonna still be quiet, shy, Michelle. You just gonna be more powerful.
Nah, listen. I think once I say it, I'm already walking into another realm. It's doors already open for me. I didn't even ask for. So
exactly.
Y'all might not be able to handle me when I say what I need to say and lose the stomach.
I bet God don't take my stomach away, because honey, I'm single with no stomach.
Girl, all right, ladies. Shonda, you want me to?
Oh no, we're good. So until
next time, make sure you go to Healing Hearts. Check out one of our t-shirts. Make sure you tune in to see when our next First Friday is going to be. We would love your support. $5, $10 a t-shirt. Help us out. Help us keep the fight.
Oh, is there another way to give? I had somebody inbox me, said they couldn't do it online because I guess they didn't have enough. They wanted to give at least $5. Is there another way?
We have a Cash App. We have Cash App. And we
put
have
that up so I can share that.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much with all these inboxes I ain't used to. Oh God, help me. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you. Good night.
Bye-bye. Good night.
All right.
Good night.
Bye-bye.